I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Will County Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting. Pledge allegiance. Jeff.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lana, roll call, please.
Cowan, Berry, Gould, Harris, Mustis, Mueller, Tuminello, Tyson, Van Dyne.
Here.
You have a quorum. We also have Mr. Frizzalone and County Executive Walsh here this meeting.
All right, thank you and welcome everyone. First, we have the approval of the minutes from November 7th, 2019.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to old business. We're scheduled for a public hearing this morning.
Make a motion to open the public hearing. Second.
We have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Berry,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Mustis, Mueller, Tuminello,
Yes.
Tyson, and Van Dyne. You are
Yes.
in the public hearing.
All right, thank you. This public hearing is for the public to give input on the proposed Will County motor fuel tax. Please be advised that all comments should be limited to discussion of the gas tax and should be 3 minutes or less. Mr. Ronaldson, would you like to comment before we get started?
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
Morning.
Before you is the resolution for a local Will County gas tax. As you know, we've discussed this for several months now. The particular resolution is for 4 cents. It is to be presented in the presentations, which is attached to your agenda, to fill the stopgap in our long-range plan. There's a number of different areas we can use this funding for. If it should pass, we'd be approaching IDOT very quickly on a number of projects. I go through more questions that you might have after the comment session, but we'll open it up to the public to see what you have coming out.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, we have 2 speakers signed up this morning, and if anyone else would like to speak during this public hearing, we'll give you an opportunity as well. So, can we start with Brian Alua?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Brian Pabula, actually. A strange Polish pronunciation. I'm a Will County resident, first living in Lockport, now in Shorewood. And I'm the Vice President of the American Society of Civil Engineers for Chicagoland and the surrounding suburbs. I support the adoption of the Will County motor fuel tax. From a population standpoint, the county is projected to be 1 million people by 2050, says Chicago Metropolitan Planning. From a freight standpoint, the county has grown 138% in the last 10 plus years. And that far exceeds increases we've seen in other freight heavy areas like Chicago, Kansas City, Los Angeles, and Memphis. Statistics like these help explain why the county has already received special attention by the state, such as the state grant for the county's freight plan, the capital plan, giving the county the authority to actually impose this motor fuel tax. And then IDOT's multi-year program, which is putting $2.14 billion of the district's state funding in this county, which is much more than its share if that funding were split evenly amongst the district. So all good things. So to continue this favorable trend already established by the state, I support the adoption of motor fuel county tax by Will County. Thank you for listening, and best of luck with the decision-making process.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Darcy Gabrisco.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me today. I am a Will County resident, and I've lived and worked in Will County for over 30 years. I'm here today to provide my support to the Will County gas tax at 4 or 8 cents for that matter. I think if you do the math, for a typical car, you're running about 22,000 miles a year, a gas car, not an electric car. It really only costs about a cup of coffee a month, and that's a good investment for our road system. Gas this week had a swing of 20 cents from Monday to Tuesday to Thursday today. So, and I think most people, and I understand people do notice, but I think most people don't even notice the swing. They're time to get gas, they just go get gas. And I would say that also by postponing the improvements, our roads continue to deteriorate, and when will we come up with the funds to make the improvements that are necessary or ultimately necessary. So I want to thank you for your consideration today, and good luck with your decision.
Thank you. We don't have any more signed up. Is there anyone else in the public area that would like to speak to the committee?
Am I a public or a county board? For the hearing.
County board? County board.
Okay, well,
Make a motion to close public hearing.
Before you do, Ray, can I announce these 2 letters? There was 2 letters presented for the public hearing. These people could not be here, so I will start with the Board of Trustees of Peatone Township has formally opposed the proposed gas tax for the County of Will. The vote was 4 ayes to 0 nays. And that was on November 18th of 2019. The second one, the Will County Center of Economic Development had written a letter basically stating that they support the gas tax of 4 cents per gallon of motor fuel sold in retail within the county. So after that, looking for a motion to close public hearing. Ray? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry, roll call.
Beery,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Eustace, Mueller, yes. Pinello,
Yes.
Tyson, and Van Dyne. You are out of public hearing.
All right, thank you. Okay, under old business, number 2, the adoption of Will County motor fuel tax. Looking for a motion. Motion and a second. Open for discussion. I got Jim.
you know, the amount of the, I know. Well, I know that it's said that we don't want to use it. So the proposal is for a 4 cent a gallon tax, is that what it is? Is that what you're moving forward?
Yeah, the question is, the motor fuel tax resolution states that it would be 4 cents per gallon that's sold in the county of Will. I believe the state of Illinois gave us the option to tax anywhere from 4 cents to 8 cents. So this resolution is asking for the minimum. Mike?
Yeah, I just want to make some comments, and I've said this many times before. But one thing is this gas tax doesn't sunset, so we can put this gas tax on at any time. We're going to receive $6.2 million in additional gas tax based on the new state numbers, and depending on how we get paid on the bill, I think you're going to talk about that later. If it's 3 years or 6 years, we're going to get 4 or 8 million a year. depending on how they pay it out. Is that right,
I
Jeff?
can answer that now. Yeah, it is over the first, what I've been told recently now, it's over the first 3 years.
So we'll
2
get-
checks, 6 checks total, 2 for the first 3 years.
So 8 million a year.
Yes.
So we're gonna get 8 and 6.2 for the next 3 years. $14 million more than what we already receive in motor fuel, which is $9 million, and the portion that we use of RTA tax as well. I understand we have a lot of projects coming up. I just think it's premature to put it on right now, because that money will just sit in the pot. There's no way you'll be able to spend that in the first year. And I think we ought to wait a year to get that. If you look around at the municipalities, and I don't know every municipality, I don't have my sheet with me today, I left that one at home. Homer has 3 cents, Joliet has several cents, Joliet's voting on increasing theirs. This is just on top, on top, on top. When we have 38 cents now, plus the sales tax on top of the gas tax from the state already, I just think we need to give the constituents a break here this year, and then see where we're at next year. I would be very willing to discuss this next year, after we get all of this money that's coming from the state, and see how we spend this money before we move to add even more to the coffers.
All right, thank you, Mike. Anyone else on the committee? Meta?
I'm definitely sympathetic. No one wants to pay any taxes. In addition to this, I would also like us to revisit an impact fee study. We did one in 2008. I wasn't on the board then. I don't know what happened with that. I haven't had time to research it all. But, a lot of our road damage coming from businesses and things like that, I wish we would have had an impact fee back in 2008 when all this was going on. But I think that could be an additional thing we could look at too, to help with, in addition to a gas tax, to get us where we need to be, since we're such a big player in the national trucking and shipping and everything else.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, I perhaps will be a little repetitive here. I'm glad you mentioned an impact study we did. I think we can wait. Yeah, I'm not necessarily opposed to gas taxes. I mean, I'm in general opposed to raising taxes. But if we're going to tax user type taxes, like a gas tax, I prefer those. You already using the system. But I do think it's also premature. You're just going to be accumulating that money for a couple of years. One of the reasons we have in my opinion, we have a pretty decent cash reserves for roads, is because we did that bond issue a number of years ago to jumpstart some things, and including the economy was going a little bad. We thought we could use a little money. We wanted to get up to like speed on our projects. So it was $100 million. And what really wound up happening is we just wound up accumulating money because we used the bond issue, and pretty much the RTA money that went into there wound up going in reserves. Now, that doesn't mean that we didn't need some of those reserves. We had a big project over Harbor Road. I don't know if it's still 45 our part or not, but so I understand reserving like big projects, but you just be reserving, I think, the money for the first couple of years at least. I think we can wait. I would prefer to wait. And then now you mentioned that impact study. I'd like to wait, go back, relook at that impact study. And this would also give us a little time to see how the 14 million that we're going to get for the next 3 years is impacting the budget. We should just not be accumulating money. Now, and I know this will accelerate the, whatever, 2040 plan, Jeff, that we're at now, 2040 plan, but it doesn't necessarily accelerate, additional taxes doesn't necessarily accelerate the 5-year plan. So unless something happens. I mean, we can always have a bridge fail or something that's kind of emergency. That's what we have reserves for, in part. So I would like to wait at least a year. Just revisit the impact study to see if that's another viable alternative that people who are impacting the system pay in. So I just prefer to wait. You know, I'm probably going to be a no. Oh, I will be a no, because I think we should study just a little bit longer, see the effects, and you know, if this was something I thought was really going to accelerate vital projects within the 5-year plan, maybe I could be a little more supportive, but it won't, in my opinion. So, anyway, that's all.
Thank you, Jim. Moving out to County Board Member, Mr. Balich.
Yeah, I did my homework with Mike in my district. We did 2 public meetings, and everybody at both of those meetings were against it. There was nobody for it. Then I did a survey on Facebook, and there was well over 1,000 people, which is a big survey for Facebook. And it was 90% against. So my district is dead against it. Now, the thing that you're not talking about is a 4-cent tax, okay, on gas. And you say, well, we need it. Well, from what I'm hearing, we really don't need it. It's just a matter that we could get more money. But when you put a tax on anything, and trucks are going to use gas, right, or diesel, or whatever, they're going to pass that cost on to the consumer. If a business has to pay more money for anything, they're going to pass the cost on in the price of the goods. So that means that the people not only going to pay 4 cents a gallon at the pump, they're going to pay extra money when they buy stuff. So this is really, really a rotten tax, because it has unforeseen consequences on the consumer. And you can't tell me that the cost is not going to get passed on, because it will. The trucking companies, for their diesel, when it's real high, they have a fuel surcharge. And they add that to the bill. Well, when the store that ordered the products gets it, they have to pay that. So how are they going to recoup that money? They're going to add it to the cost of the product. Just think about that. So every time we pass a tax, there's always unintended consequences, and usually, and I would say 99.9% of the time, the people that live here pay that tax in one way or another. Maybe not directly, because it is a user tax, but they're going to pay down the road with something. It ain't a free. It's not like a windfall of money that people are just going to see. We're paying it, the people, and that's why nobody wants the tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Julie?
I had a motor fuel tax town hall in my district, and overwhelmingly, everyone there did not support this. I've received feedback from neighbors, and everyone is concerned about this. Part of the issue we have is the strain on budgets, and I appreciate the information we're getting about how much this is going to cost people. However, I don't know if that's completely accurate, that it's only going to cost us $24 a year. Because of construction, traffic, just driving conditions. I find myself now sometimes filling up my car 3 times a week. The gas just disappears and you're sitting at light after light after light. So I think consumption is a little bit higher than the numbers that are being thrown out there. At least I know the price we're paying for gas, it's gone up substantially. That concerns everybody because a lot of people are on budgets. I have a lot of people who have told me if we implement this tax, they're out of here. They're already thinking of leaving, and it's just going to push them to leave faster. So the other part of this too is that Jeff had an excellent presentation. I appreciate all the time he spent on this and staff coming out and meeting with the community. However, one thing that was clear about it was we are not in the position to start any new projects yet. And when you look at projects like Weber, that has been going on forever, and it's still not done. So to Jim's point and Mike's point, why are we collecting money for projects that we can't start yet? And we'll be collecting taxes from people who may be leaving and won't even experience the benefit of the projects from the money that they paid. So I think we should wait. We should, and the other thing that my constituents would like also is they'd like a referendum. They'd like the ability to express their vote and tell us how they feel. I don't know why we can't do that. If we insist we have to have this tax, why don't we give the residents the ability to express their desires so we can make a vote knowing how our constituents feel. But at this point in time, I think we're rushing this through. We ought to be looking at how do we make this a little more fair. We know the trucks are ripping up our roads. We know they're causing congestion. Some of these businesses like FedEx, are they buying their fuel and paying these Illinois taxes? I was talking to somebody and they said their fuel comes from Indiana. So are we missing an opportunity here to have people who should be paying taxes that we're going to be paying? Are we missing that opportunity to make sure everybody's paying their fair share? Because if we have businesses like that have found a way to get out of paying this motor fuel tax, then that just isn't fair. So I think I would like us to slow down a little bit and really look at the big picture.
Thank you, Julie. Point taken. Amanda?
My understanding is that road projects take a long time from start to end. And I'm not an expert in that. Jeff is. I'll probably have him go back through that process real fast and refresh everybody. My feeling is that maybe we're not in a total crisis, but it kind of makes it sound like maybe we are now. And if that's the case and road projects take a long time, I think that we need to know what money we have to count on in the future to start those projects. So I will let Jeff re-explain to the group how long of a process this is so we have a better understanding when we make our decision today.
Jeff, would you like to follow up on that?
Well, road projects do take a long time and they do take a lot of money. You've seen the resolutions that come forward for various amounts, hundreds of thousands to multi-millions. And projects do take 3 to 5 years from starting your design to construction. Sometimes we get caught up with utilities delays, sometimes with court proceedings that delay the project, so then that money does sit there. But we do use it. Yes, we do not start a new project unless we know the money is there. That's what our 5-year plan is for. We take whatever money we know we're going to get. We don't start a project unless we know we can fund it in the end. So yes, we do have new projects we are ready to start, but we're not going to start them unless we know we have the money there. So if this gas tax doesn't pass, these are projects like at Laraway 52 or Laraway 45 or the east-west truck route between Piatone and 1E and Beecher, that area. We're not going to start those. There are other examples as well. So there are projects we can start. Now, will we start constructing them tomorrow? No, but we got to start somewhere, and we do have to build up the money for them because they do cost tens of millions of dollars. So I guess those are my comments. Hopefully I answered some, but if there's other particulars someone wants, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Jeff. Mike?
I just want to make another comment then, and maybe Jim can refresh my memory on our $100 million build will bond. How long of a time did it take us to spend that money?
Jeff, would take us about 7 or 8 years.
That's good.
7 or 8 years to spend that $100 million. We're going to receive $42.6 million more in the next 3 years. So even if we kept on the build will pace, which was an aggressive pace at the time, we still will have the money for that with the new taxes that are coming in and the new bond issue that's coming in from the state. Again, that's why I say I think we can wait a year and see where this money, how this money is spent, and what we can accelerate before we need to start taxing individuals.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, Jeff,
Microphone, Jim, please.
I know that number, Jeff, fluctuates. I mean, I know some of it is perhaps already reserved for a particular project. What are our reserves, 60, 70 million dollars?
I'd have to check the budget to know that for
I
sure.
mean,
But that's
I'm throwing
probably,
a general number out. But
yeah, that probably is the number that's in there, but those are all spoken for in the 5-year plan.
So, agreed. And in that time, in that 5 years, you're gonna get another $200 million. And that's the point. I'm not making this confused, Jeff. I mean, that's the point. Is so over the next 5 years, you have $270 million, approximately, give or take 10 million. Let's make it 250 million. You're gonna have $250 million available in the next 5 years, and you don't think that's enough? I mean, and again, that's with the new revenue stream. You know, my point is, you know, I'm not opposed to taxes when they're absolutely necessary, but this is just, at this point in time, just not necessary. You know, I mean, you know, if Jeff says, well, let me rework the 5-year plan or 10-year plan, or I'll show you how it's gonna get spent over the next 10 years or whatever. And I know you can just throw projects out there, but I mean something that's really saying, you know, this is going forward. You can always throw in $1 billion bridge, right? I mean, I know that. But, you know, my point is that, I know I'm being repetitive here, the 5-year plan is approximately $250 million that's available over the next 5 years. I think even Jeff, even though Jeff's pretty conservative, but even Jeff would have, if we anybody, would have a hard time spending $250 million over the next 5 years. I mean, you know, now, I also understand some things can be pretty long range, but even within the law, you know, you can only reserve for projects so far out. And then the tax objectors can show up on real estate taxes at least, you know, so you can't say, well, we got a project 10 years down the road that's gonna cost, you know, 500 million, and so we're gonna collect 500 million, we're gonna reserve 500 million now. It's gotta be within a reasonable time frame. 5 years is probably the reasonable time frame, by the way. You know, so when you talk about projects down the line, you don't have the, you know, basically, I think the spirit of the law is that you do not start reserving for something 20 years down the road, or even 10 years down the road. It's got to be within a reasonable time. And if this was a tax that I thought we needed it immediately, you know, I could be supportive, but it's not. You just want to, this tax would just allow us to accumulate more money, and then, you know, when you get so much and you're forced to spend it, you'll start spending it, not Jeff, but somebody will start spending it foolishly. I'm just saying. So, you know, the timing of something like this is important. You know, so I guess I've been beating that same drum every time I talk. It's okay.
Right.
I just have a couple questions for Jeff. Approximately how much are we spending per year on average? I'm trying to get at what do we have staff in place for currently? Because if we have an extra $50 million a year coming in, the staff, are we going to have to ramp up staff, or do we have an adequate exposure to be able to put together all these projects?
Our budget for this coming year is anticipating around 49, 50 million. That's what this current budget is set for. We have project managers that oversee the project, so no, we are not have a staff member dedicated to certain projects. They oversee management, they oversee consultants. So it's just a matter of adding in one or two more construction contracts, which is not a burden on our staff. It's not like they're adding in a whole 5, 10, 20 projects. That'd take a lot of money.
Sure.
And we will only be adding in 3 to 4 projects, and that's something our staff can manage.
Sure. One of the things I will tell you is that Springfield, they really did it right this time, right? Think about it. They don't ever have to come back and ask for increases because every year they're automatically going to get increased. What most people don't realize is this is indexed. The 19 cents is indexed. If we go to a 4-cent gas tax, it's indexed. So 4 cents is 4 cents today, but it's not 4 cents tomorrow. It's not 4 cents in 10 years from now. So before you know it, this 23 cents, when you combine the two, becomes 25, 30, 35, 40. And I believe it puts us at a competitive disadvantage. If you look at those areas that are bordering Indiana, bordering other counties that don't have these taxes, there's going to be a significant price increase or decrease, and we could actually then wind up losing some money. My fear is what I said before. I really wish the other portion of this meeting was first, because my biggest concern out of the whole thing, even more than the actual gas tax itself, is the fact that we're going to go after the residents of Will County to put money in this MFT bucket while we're not protecting the RTA bucket. So at the end of the day, theoretically, we could ask them to pay $12 million more in this bucket, and $12 million could be spent somewhere else. And at the end, then we have no additional roads being done. We have to be very smart about that. So if we're serious, if you're serious, if you're going to put this gas tax through, we have to shore up and make sure that we protect the RTA money. Because if the RTA money gets spent on foolish things, and I could give you a list of 1,000 things that RTA money could be spent on, then all we're doing is just asking the residents of Will County to fund things outside of the roads, and that's completely unacceptable.
Thank you, Ray. Any other comments from
Yeah, one more question.
Mike?
You said three projects a year. How many more projects are we going to be able to do with the 14 million we're going to get each year for the next 3 years?
With the capital build, not this money. The
No.
money
We're getting 6.2 and 8.
Yes, what we programmed in that, which I presented I think a month or two ago, there's a memo on it. We are actually accelerating projects within the existing 5-year plan. So there's nothing new in that plan other than Manhattan Moni. We're doing the phase 1 there between 45 or Center Road and 57. That's the only new project we added in. Everything else is an acceleration of starting design or starting construction.
If you accelerate it, 3 years down the road, you're going to be potentially into new projects.
Well,
Even with the money that we're going to get now.
Well, actually, in accelerating, we brought into the 5-year, we accelerated the construction of Weber Road, the next section. So that was actually in the out years. We could not fund that. So we brought that forward to complete that project. So there wasn't anything new. It was already in the pipeline. We were just able to move up the construction timeline.
80th Avenue was moved up.
80th Avenue was moved up. I had to look at the list again, but those were the 2 big ones. Weber and 80 were moved up. Gouger Road, phase 1 has been moved up. It's hopefully coming next month or 2. That already happened. And that money will be coming next month.
Yeah, the River Road, though, that was money that we've already, you would have me say about 49 million, that includes that River Road, because.
The current construction, yes,
Yeah,
not the new
it's
one.
always kind of been in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's part of that reserve.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, any other final words before we move on to this resolution? And just so we're clear, whether this resolution passes or not, this is just voting on sending it to full county board December 19th. So, Lana, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Barry?
Yes.
Gold?
No.
Mustis?
No.
Mueller?
Yes.
Chumanello?
No.
Tyson?
Yes.
And Van Dyne.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
Motion 4-3 in favor, so it will go to full county board. Moving on, we have no other old business. New business. Discussion to amend resolution 08-220 establishing policy for expenditure of RTA tax revenue.
Thank you.
And this was by the wishes of Mr. Tuminello, so if you'd like to go ahead and give your reason.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Currently, the way the ordinance is written, it's a little open-ended, and I want to make sure that, you know, it appears that the gas tax is heading to pass. And I think, you know, while this board currently seated has its ideas of what they would do with the money, and we have Jeff Ronaldson, we can't speak for the ones in the future, and I think it would be smart to tighten up this resolution to make sure that the funds, if they actually do come into the MFT, that they don't siphon out of the RTA. And I know people say, well, in the resolution it says can't be used for operations. They're right, but it could be used for a multitude of other things. It could actually shift money out of our corporate budget and pay the entire bond payments on certain things. We had a schedule when we put the courthouse, the other buildings in place, the sheriff's station, of what portion of that was going to be used. I want to make sure that it doesn't go outside of those bounds. And the other thing is we want to make sure that there's capital projects that don't just get put in there that should be in the other budget. Things like, well, if someone says, well, maybe we need, you know, I don't know, another bear, you know, for the sheriff's department. We can hire one of those 65-foot trucks just because, you know, we're growing. Or we need, you know, Will County 1, we need a helicopter to assist it. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with that money, and I want to make sure that if this is truly going to be a gas tax to improve our roads, that it stays that way. Thank you.
Okay. Jim, you want to comment?
Yeah, you know, I've given this some thought also, and of course I mentioned this pretty early on also. That would be a concern of mine. And I originally thought maybe what we have in place is sufficient, but the more I look at it, I do think that maybe we should tighten it up a little bit in this regard. The whole idea is not to shift money away from the RTA tax to operations and even capital costs that we not intend. Capital costs can be rolling stock, it can be, you know, helicopter may be a stretch, but it but
It was used to make a point.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but the point is, you know, there are different types of capital expenditures. You know, we all sitting here probably know the intent was like for bricks and mortar. And even diverting some of that RTA tax towards some debt for the courthouse, we were pretty careful in saying, this is going to be for a short period of time, this will run off, it will go back to it'll go back to capital needs. I think we should just make it simple and say, the RTA tax will be used for roads, and I think we have to have some mechanism to say, you could technically take the RTA tax and say, we're going to pay the whole courthouse debt with that, therefore freeing up other money in the corporate budget to spend on operations or other things. If the intent is all this money goes to roads, then we need to make sure that's what it says. You know, I know we diverted some of it, a small amount for a period of time, but maybe that should be the last of it. And this simply say, this can be used, the RTA tax will be used for roads only. Capital needs or capital road projects, because we don't want to use that for the operation. So, you know what I'm saying? I said, why don't we just simply say that's what it's our intent and redo it.
Okay. Ray, I had told you before that I'd be willing to sit down with you. We can reconstruct the resolution, word it the way that you would see fit, and then we can bring it back to committee and let them decide if they're happy with it. So the invitation is still there, and maybe Jeff can join us and we can come up with a solution to that.
I would also include the state's attorney, so you make sure it says it.
Oh, of course. Mike?
Yeah, and I just wanted to comment, I agree with both Jim and Ray, and part of the reason is, you know, these numbers can swing a lot. You know, when Jeff did his presentation and he put down that DuPage gets 18.9 million per year from their gas tax, they have to have that gas tax, because all their RTA money goes only for operations from the sheriff's department. They use none of their RTA money for roads. That's why they had to have the gas tax. That's why we don't necessarily need to have a gas tax. But that's a little deceiving when you say, oh, they got 18 million for the gas tax, look at all the roads they're doing. They're not using any of their RTA money, and I believe they're in the $35, $40 million that they get for RTA. All that money goes for operations of their sheriff's department. So
Thanks for bringing that up.
yeah, we gotta be careful, and that's why Ray is right, and let's look at this resolution and make sure it's solid, so that doesn't get to be, we just wash out any additional money that we'll get for roads.
Can I make another comment just about a little bit of the history of that tax? Actually, Executive Walsh was in Springfield at the time as state senator. You know, that bill originally in Springfield was going to be for roads only. It was for roads. It was DuPage County at the last minute that really pushed for it to be used for public safety because they had a big problem, deficit in their budget. So that was amended to include public safety at the last minute, is my recollection. Was that your recollection, Larry?
You're right.
Yeah, so the point I want to make is, understand, the state legislature, real intent at the time was it to be only used for roads. That's where the need was. And like I say, and they made a slight compromise for DuPage because they were in such financial dire need to fund it within the sheriff's department. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out.
Okay, thank you. All right, does that conclude our discussion?
Do you want this to be brought back again in February then?
Ray, do you think that's enough time? February? Would you like to bring it back? Because
No, I think we get done in 2 months.
well, I believe our
January's canceled.
January meeting is canceled because of the first. And,
Yeah.
You can meet sometime in January after the holidays.
and
You can work something out, I'm sure.
okay,
If not, we'll just,
all right, perfect. Thank you. All right, I have no other new business, so we are moving on to more resolutions to be recommended to the county board, starting with number 1, confirming award to contract various contractors, countywide maintenance material, all county board districts.
second.
Moving second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, confirming award to contract to various contractors, countywide maintenance material, all county board districts.
Move. Second.
Moving second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, same thing, confirming award of contract to various contractors, countywide maintenance material, all county board districts.
Second.
Moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, adopting IDOT resolution for improvement by county under the Illinois Highway Code for the countywide maintenance material, all county board districts using the MFT funds. First and second. Comment? Go ahead. Oh yeah, that's right. Go ahead, Jeff.
Within this resolution is actually the payment of our yearly salt allotment. Just to advise the committee that the last 2 years, we were contracted at $44.12 per year. We had to re-up this year, we didn't have a renewal option. Unfortunately, this year it came in at $95.86.
From 44 to 95.
217% increase. So we will be paying another $517,000 in salt this year. So they claim it's a supply issue. You can't get much more detail than that. They don't volunteer much more information than that. So we are bound this year We will request a new bid next year because we do not want to stick with that number.
CMS, do we use CMS?
That is CMS.
It is CMS.
That is, we get our salt through CMS. So that was a statewide bid. And that's the number that was seen by a lot of the other entities in our area as well. Well, we do have a lot on stock, so hopefully we don't have to buy more than what we're contracted to. So
No.
we'll be ready though. We'll be ready. It's just going to cost us $500,000 more this year.
All right. Any other questions on that? All in favor? Anyone? No? Motion carries. Number 5, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for design engineering services, second phase with Hutchinson Engineering for the intersection of Briggs and Mills Road. That's District 8. Moving second. Discussion?
Comment on that.
Comment, Jeff?
I will make this a habit. Last one. Many of you are aware that Briggs Street between south of I-80 down to Mill Street, there is a contract for that. We weren't able to do it this year because of utilities, but we will be constructing that in the spring. We started that design in 2015. At the time, the Mills Road intersection did not warrant a traffic signal. We have taken recent counts, and it does, and that's because of the Estes trucking south down towards Fairway, the IKEA, the Amazon is now sending a lot more traffic through that corridor, so the Mills Street intersection is seeing quite a bit of delay. So this contract is going to add in a traffic signal to that intersection. Hopefully we can tie the construction together a little bit, but the lead time on signals is significant, 6 to 8 months, so it'll be on the back end. But we are using the same consulting because they have the plans already. We have made some accommodations for it already in the design, so this is what this is for.
How much extra money is that for an intersection?
Well, the signal is probably going to be around $250,000. Now, if we didn't have that extra capital bill money, we may or may not entertain that, but we have that extra money, so we are definitely going to move forward and do this.
Nothing's extra.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a first and second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, granting ingress and egress for a vacant lot on Lairway Road for County Board District 2.
Second.
Moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, authorizing approval of the establishment of altered speed zone 576, County Board District 3 and 13.
Motion. Thank you.
Got a move and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Authorizing approval of the establishment of altered speed zone 577, County District 8.
Yeah, good.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, intergovernmental agreement for the improvements at Briggs Street, County Highway 54, from I-80 westbound ramps north to Washington Street, County Board District 8.
Move.
Second.
Moving second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for the design engineering services second phase with Robinson Engineering on 143rd Street from Lamont Road to Golden Oak Drive, County Board District 7.
Second.
Yeah, we got a first and second. Discussion. Jeff, go ahead.
Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on this? It's a large contract and exactly where, the length of the project and so forth.
Let's see, I'm going to do the math. I'm trying to think of the squares on the map, how many miles it is. It's like 3 or 4 miles. I had to look at the contract for sure, but it's...
We've got 3.24, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there it is. There you go.
It's a long,
There you go.
stretch.
But essentially, we had originally, in our original 5-year plan that was approved, to break that into a couple of smaller projects. We're still going to break it up into 2 construction contracts where we're going to get the design done all at once. That way, when we start acquiring right-of-way, we can see which section falls first. And that was in the memo from a couple months ago. That's something we accelerated because this design was actually later in the 5-year, so we didn't move that up. So this will allow us to figure out which one to go first, depending on which right-of-way falls first. So we got a lot of parcels along that whole corridor. it'll be hard to tell which one will actually be ready first. So it's one contract instead of 2 or 3 design engineering contracts.
That phase one didn't pose any impediments then? Or
No, we overcame anything that came up in phase 1, whether it was drainage or a number of items in phase 1. Phase 1's been approved, so we're just moving on to the next stage.
Good. All right. Vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And lastly, providing title commitment reports for use by the county from Wheatland Title Guarantee Company for Bell Road from 151st Street North to Martingale Lane. Move. Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, back to Jeff, Director of Transportation, discussion about the build grant.
Yes, I did attach in your packet a document that lists all the build grant awards for 2019. That's the national build program. We applied around mid-year, I think it was, for Laramie Road project, $12 million. And if you looked at the list, Illinois only received 2 receipts. We were not selected, so I'm just letting you know that we were not selected for that. There were 2 towns, basically, or cities that were selected. It wasn't even a state project. I think the previous time there were 2 state projects. This time it was 2 municipal-related, transit-related projects. So we were not successful in getting that award, but we will keep applying as the opportunities arrive.
All right. Any questions on that? Well, thank you. State's Attorney's discussion. You have none? Okay. We have 3 reports that were provided to your packet, the construction, the maintenance, and the second phase summary report. Are there any questions for Jeff on any of those reports? Okay. All right, moving on, public comment. Anything other than the gas tax? Anyone from the public other than the gas tax? No? All right. There are no chairman's report, no executive session, so looking for a motion to adjourn. Moving second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.